When the Nintendo Wii was first unveiled, a lot of people looked at that controller and they were like, what can you do with that? What sort of games, what sort of genres would really benefit from using a motion-based sensing controller that can track your movement so you could point and basically shoot or do something at a certain location? You noticed how I said the word shoot. Obviously, first-person shooters were thought to be a great thing for the Nintendo Wii. What it didn't have in horsepower comparative to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, it had an interactive sort of element to it. And first-person shooters ended up coming to the Nintendo Wii in droves. As far as exclusive ones are concerned, there were a few. The Red Steel series jumps out in my mind. Maybe we'll cover them one day. But in today's video, I want to cover one that I absolutely loved. I played this game so much. I played it online because I had online with the Wii Speak voice chat system, but I absolutely loved this game. It had a sequel as well, but I don't think the sequel was as good. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. But I, of course, am talking about The Conduit. The Conduit was a game made by High Voltage Software exclusively for the Nintendo Wii. And in these interviews that they did with companies like IGN, they were always touting this proprietary graphics engine that was going to be unlike anything that we had seen so far on the Wii. And the real catch to this game was the fact that you would be able to completely customize your motion controls, completely, including dead zones and all that sort of stuff, which was unlike anything that we had seen on the Nintendo Wii thus far. Most of the Wii games had pre-done controller settings and like you could choose which one felt good, but this game offered full customization. But was it any good? I definitely have a soft spot for the game. I like pretty much everything the game has to offer. The story was actually very interesting. You were a government agent by the name of Michael Ford. Some aliens are invading. You got to figure out what's going on. You go to like different real world locations and try to stop the alien invasion. It was cool. It was different. It was something that, you know, I'm a fan of the movie Independence Day where aliens take over the world. I hope one day it does happen. Hopefully when I'm older and I can just watch it and be like, well, my time is done. But I definitely like the story of the game, and there was lots of hidden things as well. You had something called the all-seeing eye, which was basically a device that you could float around in your hand and look at different things on the map. And basically there would be hidden messages on the wall sometimes that would basically just kind of make you think about weird stuff like the Anunnaki and stuff like that. Stuff I had never really thought about. But what I like about the story is, in the first game, it's sort of rooted in reality. Obviously, a massive scale alien invasion, I don't know if we'll ever see something like that. But the whole government conspiracies, covering things up, and secret societies, it talked a lot about those in this game, and it actually got me very interested in this whole world of government conspiracies. From a gameplay perspective, the game was pretty standard for a first-person shooter, but like I said, with the fully customizable controls, you could do a lot of cool things with it. It made sniping feel unique. It made shotguns feel unique. Pretty much every gun had its own feel to it because of the fact that they all sort of controlled a little bit differently. They all felt a little bit different in terms of movement. The graphics of the game, while maybe not what was exactly promised in terms of being absolutely spectacular, I definitely think this is in the upper percentile for good-looking Nintendo Wii games. I think this game still holds up with a decent graphical style. They went for a more realistic style, which at that time was something that the Wii was struggling to do. And in terms of games like that, I think it's one of the better-looking Wii games. There are some very nice water effects. The alien creatures, you know, they're not exactly the most diverse thing in the world. You'll see lots of creatures that look essentially the same, but there was environments that you could destroy some stuff in, and everything ran at a very smooth clip while you were playing this game, which definitely led a lot to the enjoyment of it. All the voice acting in the game sounded really well done, and the gameplay itself was fun. It was a pretty standard first-person shooter, all things considered, but the detailed control schemes, finding different collectible hidden things within the levels, it really sort of elongated the game experience. You wanted to 100% everything to learn sort of the deeper story that was going on within this game and how Earth had sort of become what it became. Now, there also was an online component, which obviously, it's going to be very hard to show you anything from the online component, so I won't be able to do that as, you know, the game's not online anymore. But this was actually super fun. I loved playing this game online. Like I said, you could use the stupid Wii Speak thing that you would put on like the top of your TV. I believe it was originally for Animal Crossing, and you could like talk to people with that. So it was one of the first few Nintendo Wii games that actually feature native voice chat in it. You had different sorts of game modes that you would play, your standard TDM, your deathmatch modes, basically capture the flag stuff, nothing too crazy, but everything ran really well, and everything was just very satisfying because up until this point, the Call of Duty games weren't hitting the Wii at that time. They eventually came to the system with all the online features intact as well, which was a very impressive thing, but this was really the only game on the block if you wanted to play a first-person online shooter. Red Steel, which had came out and wasn't really that great of a game, didn't have any online functionality. I don't know, there was always something about the Conduit that just drew me to it though. I remember I ended up buying like a sweatshirt and a t-shirt from High Voltage Software. They would actually post on the GameFAQs forums and like we could interact with the people that were working on this game, and they would tell us different things and all sorts of stuff, and it was just very cool. It felt like a very grassroots sort of situation. When I sold my collection, this is actually one of the games I kept. I have a special edition of the game, which really isn't that big of a special edition. There's just a comic book that's included in it that's sort of like a precursor to the Conduit storyline, but I always find myself wanting to revisit this game once in a while just because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was definitely a different game for the Nintendo Wii, and it was something that sort of showcased the system like what could have been. If this smaller company known as High Voltage Software could really maximize graphics on this system, like what could have been? What could have been if other companies gave as much effort? Like I said, there was a sequel to this game, and I didn't hate it, and it did some really impressive things visually, but it definitely went a lot more over the top. I always felt like the original Conduit was something that could happen within reality, but in the Conduit 2, they were just like, let's do a line of blow, come up with the story, come up with all these, you know, crazy alien weapons, and like I said, it was fine. Maybe we'll talk more about that game in the future, but the first game is always the game that I return to. Did you ever play the Conduit on the Wii? If you haven't, I mean, you can emulate it. I actually think it came out on iPads as well. I believe there was an iPad version. It was the full version of the game, but you could use the touch screen of the iPad to move around and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that all of that has been delisted, as the Conduit is a, you know, forgotten memory for many people. But if you have any nostalgia for this game, hey, be sure to let me know about it in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for watching RGT85's Retro Stash. I do want to let you guys know that I do have channel memberships on this channel. I really don't do a lot with it, but I will be taking some polls over on the channel membership side of things, talking about which games you want me to talk about next, and also giving suggestions. So if you want to be able to chime in on that, be sure to check out all the different membership options that I have. I mean, I think there's one for like $1 or stuff like that. I'm going to be real with you. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but you get some emoticons for when I go live, and you can check out different things that I'll be doing behind the scenes if I manage to keep up with it. I think I will. Hey, I'm doing a good job of keeping up with everything on this, right? I'm actually doing these uploads. Play the Conduit for the Wii, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.